Thank you so much, Dr. Ramanathan, and thank you all for being with us this afternoon. I'm Kevin Knobloch, the president of the Union of Concerned Scientists. We have a wonderful program over the next 2 hours, including remarks from Lou Branscombe and an exciting panel discussion moderated by Casey Cole, featuring some very distinguished guests, David Baltimore, Naomi Oreskes, Mary Nichols, and John Porter. You will also hear from Jim McCarthy, who is the chair of the UCS board and the Agassiz Professor of Biological Oceanography at Harvard, as well as Peter Frumhoff, who is the Director of Science and Policy at UCS, later in the program. And so, the Center for Science and Democracy is inaugurated with a compelling and hugely ambitious mission to strengthen American democracy by restoring the essential role of science, evidence-based knowledge, and constructive debate in the U.S. policymaking system. And if I can be immodest for a moment, I would say to you that the Union of Concerned Scientists is built to serve this role. The physicists who founded UCS at MIT in 1969, at the height of the nuclear arms race with the Soviet Union, were intent on seeing science used to address problems and not to create destruction. Over the past 4 decades, we've tried to live up to that, and we've worked to ensure that whether it's climate, energy, agriculture, or security policy, that they are informed by rigorous science.
Right? But it's that good information, accurately communicated, is a key part of a functioning democracy. And Lou's nodding, so I think I said that right. Good. Thanks.
So we have time for one more question, probably from the audience. If there's somebody who's been dying, had their hand up for a long time.
We're all dying.
Maybe
Okay,
one.
I think we have one back here.
Get Dan McGolden.
Yeah.
He always asks good questions.
First, I want to thank you for establishing this new center. I wrote it out because I just don't want to say the wrong thing, and I'm kind of nervous in this audience. These are very noble goals, working against the politicization of science. And David, as you quote, only in an undemocratic regime can you have anti-science. And I'm not going to disagree with that. And there are reasons why scientists don't speak up even against the propensity of evidence. However, I want to ask how you explain not just the partisan but the bipartisan support for continuing the lack of evidence-based science used to perform such a vital role in government decision-making in regards to scientific facts, in particular with these 4 points. One of them, the free fall of World Trade Tower number 7, verifiable in high school physics, a tower not struck by a plane that crushed 82 structural feet with no explanation from NIST. Temperatures exceeding 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. EPA recorded that. NIST says fueled by office furnishings, not possible. Number 3, NIST's overt lack of transparency, calling secret computer simulations of the free fall explained only by what NIST calls one beam that failed. Let me just finish my question, then I'll just ask you what your response is.
Yeah.
And number 4, evidence of nanothermite in peer-reviewed articles that NIST says is outside their scope and they do not intend to investigate.
Yeah.
How will you help facilitate the depolitization of these issues so that at least the science can be looked at, regardless of the outcome, just the science that's being unraveled?
This is, yeah, I'm sorry. Thanks. We're out of time. And I think that's a little bit out of scope unless somebody wants to take it on of what we're talking about here. And I think that Peter wants to.
About the investigation. I'm not asking about an answer.
I don't know anything about it.
Like you.
Well, first, let me say I don't know anything about the specifics of that issue, but and so I'm not qualified to answer it, and so I won't try. But I would say that in any kind of democratic process, including the kind of town hall public dialogue that we're having here today, it's important that all voices have an opportunity to be expressed, that they not be suppressed. And so I appreciate you putting your ideas forward, and the fact that I can't answer them may I finish, please? Because this is my turn to put my voice forward. I have no basis for making a judgment on your on either your facts or your opinions, and I'm assuming that no one else in the panel does either. So I'm now going to turn to some closing remarks. I want to thank Casey and the panelists for their vigorous engagement and dialogue.
On June 13th of this year, when I asked this question publicly, I was unaware that scientists for 9/11 Truth had already written to UCS back in January 2011 in an attempt to persuade UCS to address these same issues. The signatories of that letter included a team of scientists who had performed the only forensic analysis ever done on dust samples from the World Trade Center collapse. The events of 9/11 have launched 2 major wars, cost countless lives, diverted enormous amounts of resources, as well as done much to undermine efforts to address both fossil fuel dependency and climate change. These effects are ongoing. In the years since 9/11, a vast amount of scientific evidence has in fact been accumulated which calls the government's explanation of this event into question, and which demonstrates the need for a credible and fully transparent investigation, one free from governmental interference and influence. Even though I'm not a scientist, when I watch Tower 7 accelerate directly through its own structure in absolute freefall, it's easy for me to see the significance of this, and that's only one of many disturbing examples. This is why I cannot accept that the Union of Concerned Scientists as an organization is somehow not willing, qualified, or informed enough to have an opinion on this matter.